So Justin Gaethje just beat the brakes off of Paddy Pimblett in the main event of UFC 324 in what was a very entertaining fight. Great way to start off the new year, the new Paramount era, and let's just be real, man. Justin Gaethje exposed Paddy Pimblett. A lot of the reservations that people had about Paddy Pimblett, they were on display in this fight against Justin Gaethje. So we got a lot to discuss because I thought that this was a solid card from top to bottom, right? So this is going to be my full card recap, and I'm going to react to every single fight that happened on this card. Let's hop right into this thing. Main event. Interim lightweight title, we got Gaethje Pimblett. So first I want to start by giving you what my biggest takeaway is from this fight. And my biggest takeaway is not a single one of these dudes would make it out of the first round against Ilia Topuria. And that, to me, is why I did not have goosebumps coming into this main event. I didn't have that nervous energy that I normally do for a main event. Like, obviously, this was a very exciting fight, but I had said ever since they booked this fight, leading up to this fight, this is literally, these guys literally signed up to go in there and get knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Like, I really hope that the UFC genuinely does not book Gaethje versus Ilia, man. Like, and I love Justin Gaethje. He's an OG. He's a legend. And this was a very, very good performance by Justin Gaethje. But by the same token, it was sloppy. It was a very sloppy fight from both guys. It was a car crash, right? It was super entertaining, but it looked like a bar fight. There wasn't a whole lot of technique going on here, right? It was Gaethje basically spamming big overhand rights, backing Paddy Pimblett up against the fence, landing big shots. Gaethje out-grappled Pimblett, was beating him up on the ground with ground and pound. That's, to me, why we knew that this was going to be a really fun fight. Like, I knew that this was going to be a fun fight. We all did. But it was the fact that it was for the interim lightweight belt. Like, you're telling me that these guys, they got to be locked in an octagon with Ilia? Ilia is just a completely different level. Like Justin Gaethje, the Justin that we saw in this fight, he is not washed. I don't think Justin Gaethje's washed whatsoever. You don't go out there and beat Rafael Fiziev most recently and have 2 victories over Rafael Fiziev, who is a really good Muay Thai striker. You don't beat that guy if you're washed. So that's why I said coming into this fight, the Gaethje disrespect was crazy. Because Gaethje's as dangerous as it gets, and he's by far the best fighter that Paddy has fought. But the reality is, Justin Gaethje, he's not in his prime. And a prime Justin Gaethje would have annihilated Paddy. And the fact that Paddy Pimblett made it the full 25 minutes is a miracle in and of itself and is beyond impressive. I have no idea how Paddy made it the distance. No clue. Scousers don't get knocked out, lad. He's right. What durability, what heart, and what grit by Paddy Pimblett. Because after the first round, I'm like, oh, he's getting knocked out. He's getting knocked out. Justin Gaethje is not in his prime whatsoever, and he went out there and beat the brakes off of Paddy Pimblett. There was a levels difference. There was a huge difference in skill. Gaethje out-grappled Pimblett. He tagged him up on the feet over and over and over again. Now, I know Pimblett got some shots in there, right? Throwing that big winging cartoon uppercut, right? Landed a couple 1-2s, right? Sticking and moving. Landed a few knees because Gaethje ducks his head. But, I mean, come on, man. This was, if Paddy Pimblett was going to beat anybody at the top of this weight class, it was going to be a 38-year-old Justin Gaethje. That is, to me, why the UFC booked this fight. Because Gaethje was like, I'm going to retire if you don't give me a title shot. Right? So the UFC is like, we'll kill a bird with 2 stones here. Or we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Whatever that analogy. I mess that analogy up every time. You know what I'm saying? They're like, Gaethje's saying he's going to retire. We'll give him the shot. Paddy's if he's going to beat anybody, it should be Gaethje. At least that's the way I thought of it. Paddy Pimblett is probably never going to be a champion in the UFC. And this is just a product of the marketing machine and the machine that is the UFC. They have built up Paddy Pimblett. They did a great job doing it, hyping him up, right? Paddy became a big star, and he goes out here and it's time to put up or shut up. And he got he got beaten up by Justin Gaethje. And I know it's impressive that Paddy made it the full 25 minutes. And that, in a sense, is its own victory. But the bottom line is, this was most likely a compromised Gaethje, wasn't it? People were talking about staff and all this stuff about Justin Gaethje, and it didn't really look like Justin in there, right? I know we were seeing the big overhand rights, and at moments it looked like Gaethje, but to me, Gaethje looked a little bit off. And he still went out there and beat the brakes off of Paddy, man. I know it was entertaining. I know Pimblett had some moments here and there, but this was just one-sided. It really was. At least it felt that way. Gaethje wasn't even throwing that many leg kicks, right? Which I was kind of surprised about because I feel like he could have really destroyed the base of Paddy Pimblett. But I feel like some of that was not trying to aid, into the takedowns because Paddy Pimblett, one of the big knocks on him was the wrestling, right? And to me, that was a big exposure in this fight was Paddy has really good jiu-jitsu. And if you would have told me that Paddy Pimblett was not even going to try to grapple in this fight, I would have been like, he's got no shot. No shot whatsoever. And the fact that he wasn't even diving for takedowns and was not really trying to press the action and wasn't blitzing in with these combinations when Gaethje covers up and trying to take him down and when he would sting him with a shot, not try to level change, is just crazy. Just crazy. I have no idea what the Paddy Pimblett game plan was. Now, all credit to Justin Gaethje because he shut down whatever it was. Right? And Paddy Pimblett, he did the big no-nos in this fight, which was do not back straight up against Justin Gaethje and do not sit along the octagon side and do not drop your hands and circle towards his power side, which is what Paddy kept doing over and over and over again. And then that's why you would see Gaethje, soon as Paddy would circle off, that big clobbering overhand right. Right? If you go back and watch a lot of Gaethje's KOs, where do they happen? When he's pressuring guys up along the octagon side, they go to circle off, and he throws that big looping overhand right over the top. Was landing a big left hooks in the pocket, big gnarly uppercuts. I mean, I know that this was very entertaining, and to me, it's like, does Paddy's stock really drop? Because this was a very entertaining fight. It was a great way to start the new year, but in a way, the stock drops in terms of that talk of Paddy being a champion. Because to me, if Paddy was going to beat anybody at the top of the weight class, it was Gaethje. And it felt like that's why the UFC went this route. Right? Gaethje was going to retire if he doesn't get a shot. Okay, we'll give it to him. And this is the guy that if Paddy's going to beat anybody, it should be Gaethje. Is Paddy beating Oliveira? Absolutely not. Is he beating Max? Absolutely not. Is he beating Armin? Not a shot. Is he beating Ilya? No. Absolutely not. So to me, my biggest takeaway was the fact that no matter who won this fight, you signed on the dotted line to fight for the lightweight interim title, to go out there and then get knocked out and brutally flatlined by Ilia Topuria. The Justin Gaethje that fought in this fight, even Gaethje period, would have gotten knocked out in the very first round by Ilia. And the Paddy Pimblett that we saw last night as well would get knocked out in the first round by Ilia Topuria. This, to me, just validated even more, which I had been saying, and I know a lot of us have been saying, we need Armin versus Ilia next. And I know you can never count out Gaethje. He's super entertaining. And this was an amazing, it was an amazing fight in terms of it was entertaining, but there wasn't a lot of technique. Like Paddy Pimblett, I've been saying, he's got this stiff muscled striking, cartoon-like striking. His striking is not that good, right? It's serviceable, right? He kind of darts into range, throws some shots here and there. But the fact that we basically saw the first takedown attempt in, I think it was, the fifth round from Paddy is crazy, man. And the fact that Gaethje was stinging him and out-grappling him and beating him up on the ground with ground and pound, Gaethje's ferocious. And the OG, the legend Justin Gaethje, who is not a prime Gaethje, but like I said, is not washed either, goes out there and beats the brakes off of Paddy Pimblett. Hurt him badly in the first 2 rounds. Hurt him multiple times throughout this fight, right? Then Pimblett started to pour it on a little bit. And the fact that Paddy Pimblett got rocked and dropped so many times by Gaethje and was still in this fight, I found that really impressive. Because we see guys that they get thrown in there with Gaethje and Gaethje just melts them. They just kind of break. They're getting hit with the big Gaethje bombs, right? They kind of, and you could tell by Paddy Pimblett's facial expressions early in the fight when he got dropped the first time and got cracked by Gaethje. I felt like it was some body language that we have not seen from Paddy Pimblett before. And that's the reality of this, is the UFC, they built up a guy that people were questioning, are the skills there to be able to go out there? He talks, he's got the personality, he's got all these things, the UFC's pushing him. But when it's time to put up or shut up, can he go out there and can he beat a guy like Justin Gaethje to win the interim title to set up what we all know the UFC wanted to do, which was Ilya versus Paddy Pimblett? That's the fight that they wanted. And that was without a doubt going to be the next fight. That was going to be a huge fight. If Paddy Pimblett could go out here and beat Gaethje, I mean, and I had this fight, it was 4-1 at the worst, 3-2 for Gaethje. Like, it was a clear Justin Gaethje victory. And to me, my biggest takeaway was, come on, man, just do Ilya versus Arman. Neither of these dudes stand a chance against Ilya, and I don't think they stand a chance against Arman either. Like, Ilya and Arman, to me, are so far ahead of these guys, it's just not even funny, man. And I know Gaethje put on a masterclass, and I'm impressed with Gaethje. I really, really am, because the fact that he was able to maintain range, he put the pressure on Paddy Pimblett. People are going to say, oh, well, Pimblett didn't really attempt any takedowns, and that's true. But it's also hard to shoot takedowns when you're not a particularly good wrestler to begin with. Gaethje has historically very good takedown defense, and Gaethje was applying a ton of pressure, putting Paddy on his heels, which then is able to make it a lot easier for Gaethje to see the shots coming. Right? And Gaethje, to me, just weaponizes experience as well. He's been in there with the best of the best. And the only guys that have really had a ton of success grappling and then have been able to finish Justin Gaethje is Oliveira and Khabib. Two of the all-time greats. So at the end of the day, this was while it's not a prime Gaethje, this was a kind of a sloppy masterclass by Gaethje in a way, because he beat up on Paddy, man. He really, really did. Landed massive shots, dropped him numerous times, and the fact that Paddy Pimblett was able to survive, I thought was wildly impressive. So in that sense, it was an entertaining fight. So I don't think that it crushes Paddy's stock whatsoever because, it was super entertaining and it was a great fight, but it crushes his stock in the aspect of people are now going, okay, our reservations that we had about Paddy, they're real. They're real. And the fact that he was not blitzing in, throwing these combinations, trying to get a hold of Gaethje over and over and over again, I just thought was crazy. I'm not sure what the game plan was. Gaethje, like I said, credit to him, he shut it down. He shut it down. But if you had told me that Paddy was just going to be content sitting at range, trying to throw kicks from the outside, spam knees up the middle, throw these big winging cartoon-like strikes, and he was just going to be stuck on the feet with Gaethje for pretty much 25 minutes, I would have been like, there's not much of a shot that Paddy wins that fight. I know he landed some good shots, but Justin Gaethje, man, the OG, the legend, goes out there and spoils the party because we all know that the UFC wanted that Paddy versus Ilya fight. They did. So we'll see what the UFC does next. I mean, I really don't want to see Gaethje versus Ilya. I know people are going to be like, it's a crazy fight, and they're going to be all high, on this because Gaethje beat up on Pimblett, but Ilya is a different monster. He is. And Arman wants to fight Gaethje, and I feel like, Gaethje on the feet in that fight, but at the end of the day, Arman's grappling. Arman's grappling is a different level. And that's kind of what was dampening about this fight was we knew that this was going to be an entertaining fight, which it was. It's just the fact that these are not the two best lightweights in the world. They just aren't. And the fact that Gaethje separated himself from Paddy Pimblett that much just made this fight even more validated and what are we doing here, UFC? But at the end of the day, it was entertaining. It was a great main event in terms of the entertainment factor to kick off the new Paramount era, the new year. And like I said, it was not a great performance by Gaethje because this was a sloppy version of Gaethje. And again, I think he was compromised coming into this fight, right? Right? We heard all what everyone was kind of saying throughout the week. Does he have staff? Does he have this? And I don't know. Gaethje to me didn't really look like himself, but the fact that he didn't really look like himself and still went out there, was landing the big shots, was jabbing Paddy Pimblett up, putting the pressure on him, and was just dropping him left and right and beating up on him. I thought it was wildly impressive by Justin Gaethje, man, because for a while he wasn't throwing his right hand, towards, I think it was the back end of the second round, third round. He kind of got away from throwing the right hand, so I wasn't sure what happened there, but I really thought after the first round, I'm like, Gaethje's knocking him out, man. Paddy's backing straight up in the air, chin in the air, as we've seen time and time again. But we definitely got to see that toughness on display from Paddy Pimblett. But the bottom line, Justin Gaethje, he destroyed him, man. He absolutely destroyed him. Like I said, 4-1 Gaethje, at the worst 3-2 Gaethje, but I lean 4-1, man. I mean, this was an exposing of Paddy. We got to call it what it is. And the fact that he was not, just throwing caution to the wind, trying to get a hold of Gaethje to grapple, I just don't know what the game plan was. Because if I had known that Paddy was just going to sit out there and try to strike the whole time, I'm like, no chance. No chance whatsoever. So shout out to Gaethje, man. Going out there, becoming the interim lightweight champ once again. We'll see what they do next, right? Because Ilya was saying, He's basically like, listen, man, no matter what with Gaethje, he's in trouble when he fights me, which, again, dude, Gaethje's, as hard as he hits and as good as he is, he's sloppy, and you can't be sloppy against Ilia on the feet. You just can't do it. And Gaethje doesn't have the grappling threat to trouble Ilia. So I just feel like Gaethje, if he fights Ilia next, he's getting flatlined in the first round. I don't want to see it. I just really want the UFC to do Ilia versus Arman. That's how I'm feeling. That's the fight to make. Ilia and Arman, to me, are on a different level. Again, great performance by Gaethje, but this was an exposing of Paddy Pimblett. It was. And again, credit to Pimblett for hanging in there, gritting it out, throwing back, did not back down. We've seen fighters that end up in those positions and they look for a way out. Paddy Pimblett did not do that. He was getting hit with massive shots. He was holding his hands low. It was a disaster for Paddy Pimblett, but he hung in there and was swinging till the very end against Justin Gaethje. It was very entertaining. There wasn't a lot of technique. And as we said coming into this fight, these are not the best lightweights in the world, which is why it was weird that it was for an interim belt. But that's what Justin Gaethje did. Spoiled the plans for the UFC because we know the UFC wanted that Paddy versus Ilia fight. And I kept saying, even if Paddy wins and beats Gaethje, he's not beating Ilia. Neither of these guys have anything for Ilia, man. So that's why, in a way, it's a little bit depressing because I was like, whoever wins this fight, you're basically signing up to get knocked out by Ilia. But great performance by Gaethje. Like I said, not in his prime, but still clearly better than Paddy Pimblett. So I just think those conversations of Paddy Pimblett being a UFC champion, it feels like it's over. All right, Sean O'Malley, Song Yadong. I felt like this was I don't know, man. Watching in real time, I really felt like Song won this fight. Now, what kind of hurt Song a little bit was it seemed like he got away from throwing the leg kicks later on in the fight, which I felt like was going to maybe bite him in the rear end because he destroyed the legs of Sean O'Malley. And the game plan that I had laid out for Song, I picked Sean to win this fight by a decision, but I said if Song's going to win this fight, it's by not over-swinging on shots, beating up the legs of O'Malley, taking away his movement, right? He's got those thin legs, attack him, and then mix in the grappling, and that's exactly what Song did. And I actually thought Song won this fight, right? In real time, maybe I'll have to go back and watch it and watch it more from the judge's eye, but from just straight watching it live, I thought Song won this fight. Right, and people are out here, crazy robbery. I thought it was a close fight, but I leaned Song, man. He was landing very damaging shots. O'Malley, he goes southpaw. He was doing a great job switching stances, and Sean O'Malley is very fast, man. He's fast. He's twitchy. He's Mr. Speedy Gonzalez out there. He'd go southpaw, land a good straight left hand down the pipe, but, would throw a few front kicks here and there. But to me, it just felt like this was all Song. He was destroying his legs. Right, took him down, was controlling him on the floor. Right, O'Malley was able to get back up at times, but I don't know. I'm not going to say that it was a brutal robbery, but I did think Song won this fight. Right, again, in real time. I'll have to go back and watch it, but listen, man, if it's close, this new era that we're seeing from the UFC, it just feels like if it's close, the guy that the UFC or the woman that the UFC is trying to get behind, it feels like if it's close at all, that they're just getting a nod. I don't know, man. Because I really thought Song won this fight. And then we're going to talk about the Natalia Silva fight in a minute here. I don't know. I know O'Malley was dancing around, landing some good shots from range, but I thought Song fought a beautiful fight. Now, he was getting busted up, right? Sean was getting the jab going and the precision of O'Malley, the speed, the footwork. Sean O'Malley is one of the best strikers, I think, in the UFC. But to me, it wasn't the best version of O'Malley that we've seen. I know he looked fast. He looked like he was in great shape, but Song, he's a tough out, right? And that's also part of it is Song Yadong. He's not a slouch, man. He's not just some guy that you just feed to O'Malley going, this is a layup here. It's a more favorable stylistic matchup than a lot of the other bantamweights, but I don't know, man. I thought Song won this fight. I thought he won this fight, but, credit to O'Malley, I guess, right? He was sticking and moving. I picked O'Malley to win this fight for kind of the reasons that he ended up winning it for was just a lot of movement, a lot of footwork, throwing kicks from range, landing a nice spinning back kick as well. When he would go southpaw, that left hand was finding a home right down the middle because Song doesn't move his head a whole lot, right? But Song's very durable. I felt like Song abandoning the leg kicks later on in the fight is kind of what ended up maybe costing him. I'm not quite sure, man. Like I said, in real time, I thought Song got this done. So either way, it was a pretty entertaining fight. Right, O'Malley, every fight that he's going to be in, he's going to want to keep it on the feet, stick and move, which is what he was doing. But Song getting to the takedowns, I know he didn't do like a ton with them, right? So maybe the judges are factoring that in terms of damage. When you get the takedown, what are you doing with it? I don't know, man. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what the UFC does because Umar beat Fugitt on this card. He's on a 2-fight win streak. O'Malley loses to Merab twice, comes out here, beats Song. We know he's got history with Jan, so, he holds that robbery win, which I thought was a robbery over Jan. Sean O'Malley gets these close decisions, man, against these top guys, right? Against Jan, I thought Jan won that fight. And then here against Song, I felt like Song won this. So, but credit to O'Malley, man. I mean, he was sticking and moving, got his legs battered, was still moving, moving around, doing his thing, was landing good left hands. But I don't know. I felt like Song won this fight. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Do they give Sean the title shot next? I don't think he should get the title shot next. But knowing what the UFC is doing these days, I would not be surprised one bit if they give Sean O'Malley the next title shot. So it sounds like they're probably going to run the trilogy, Jan versus Merab, which is what I want to see. But I feel like Umar definitely is more deserving at this point than Sean O'Malley, especially after this fight. Whether you thought O'Malley won or not, this was a razor close fight. Razor close fight, man. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the UFC does. I thought that the fact that it was unanimous all across the board, I thought was pretty wild, right? Because in the chat, in the live chat, and you could see on social media, the tweets that the UFC was putting up on the broadcast, it looked like a lot of people thought Song. Or if you ask 10 people, I feel like 6 people would have said Song won and 4 O'Malley, or maybe it's split. But for all the judges to be so convinced that Sean won, I thought was kind of wild. Thought it was kind of wild. So I know that he was landing maybe the more damaging shots, especially with the boxing, but I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to go back and watch it. But off the live reaction, I thought Song won. But I picked O'Malley, so happy I got the pick right. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with O'Malley next, man. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derrick Lewis. I picked Waldo to win this fight for kind of what we saw. Basically just get a jab and leg kick from range. Not open up a ton. Be very reserved, right? Obviously because of the power of Derrick Lewis. But we saw this fight end and how they usually end if Derrick Lewis is going to win. Waldo's starting to heat up, starting to get his rhythm, starting to get his timing, starting to get the jab popping. And then Derrick Lewis he was swinging these big shots, was wild, not finding the target. And then it just felt like, he kind of stumbled. I don't know if his leg gave out or what happened. And then Derrick Lewis just hits the canvas and then that's all she wrote. And that's what we see in these Derrick Lewis fights, man. Weird stuff goes on. It's like he just kind of, I don't know what happens. Like he just kind of folds in there, just wilts. Right? Things aren't going his way. And then, slips and falls. Looks like his leg gave out. And then all of a sudden, he's just kind of covering up and not responding to the shots that Waldo's throwing. And then we're going to get a stoppage. So a lot of the time when Derrick loses, there are these weird stoppages. So, and this is what I expected. I picked Waldo, I think, by a decision, right? Because I just figured that he would be careful, jab and leg kick the whole time, right? Derrick started out, had a pretty good first round. Right, was throwing some big, that little switch kick that he likes to throw, was throwing a straighter right hand this time because Lewis, usually is throwing these big winging shots. But how about Waldo Cortez Acosta, man? Going out here getting the biggest victory of his career, adding the knockout king Derrick Lewis to his resume, and Waldo's on a crazy win streak. Right, he's been very active, and I like the call out of Curtis Blades. Not many people call out Curtis Blades because he's not the easiest opponent, man, but I think Waldo beats him. I would pick Waldo to be Curtis Blades because I know Blades is the wrestling, but we've seen Waldo, his takedown defenses look pretty good. It's looked pretty good, and these faster heavyweights, they give Derrick Lewis problems. That's why I picked Waldo in this fight. He's the more technical fighter, right? Just has a good game plan every time he comes in there, right? Jab, move, utilize his speed, set up the right hand, and it just felt like when things were not going Derrick's way, he kind of stumbled, fell back, and then I'm like, that's all she wrote. Covered up, Waldo follows up with some ground and pound. So again, another weird Derrick Lewis type of fight, but when Derrick Lewis loses, that's usually how they end up looking. So I don't know what happened with Derrick in that fight, man. So at the end of the day, he was getting picked apart. Waldo was starting to heat up. Great performance by Waldo, and I like him versus Blades next. I like the call out. I think he goes out there and beats Curtis Blades. I like that matchup, though. And for Derrick Lewis, they'll probably give him another taxi cab driver or something so he could go out there and get a KO. Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. This was another one with the decision, man. I picked Natalia Silva, and I didn't think she won. I mean, in real time, right? I'm looking at the striking totals here, right? If these are accurate, sometimes I don't know if these numbers are always accurate, but let's say they are. Natalia Silva, she had a good third round, right? And that's really where a lot of the activity came from, was in round 3. She had success with the grappling. She was outlanding Rose in round 3. Round 2, I thought, was clearly Rose. And then round 1 was so close that I guess it could go Natalia Silva's way. But for all the judges to be on the same page and so convinced that Silva won, I thought was crazy. I thought it was crazy. I thought that, there were definitely some judges that were going to give it to Rose for the first round, right? And again, just like the O'Malley Song fight, if you ask 10 people who they thought won, I feel like more people are going to say Rose won, right? Or it's at least split. But for all the judges to sit up there and just go that Natalia Silva won, I mean, she definitely won the third round. I thought Rose definitely won the second round, right? She was landing some good shots on the feet, took her down, controlled her. The first round, it was basically a staring contest. Nobody did anything. It was basically shadow boxing. They were just shadow boxing at each other. And I don't know why Natalia Silva waited till the third round to get going. If she started doing that earlier, I mean, I feel like she could have separated herself and clearly gotten a victory. So she got the victory, but at the end of the day, I was just surprised at how all the scorecards were unanimous. And I thought did we have a 30-27 scorecard in there, which is crazy to me, because Rose definitely won the second round in my opinion. So end of the day, Natalia Silva should have opened up a lot sooner, but I don't know. I was surprised that this was a unanimous decision. So happy I got the pick right, but in real time, it kind of felt like Rose won. But again, the first round nothing happened. The first round was so atrocious. This fight overall sucked until the third round. Third round was all right, but overall, boring fight, pretty much a glorified sparring match. Arnold Allen, John Silva. This was the fight I was looking forward to the most, and it delivered for the most part. This was a very entertaining fight, right? The main event obviously was the most entertaining in my opinion, but this was an entertaining fight. You had the speed, the footwork, and the lateral movement of Arnold Allen versus the power and the setups of John Silva. And this was a good bounce back performance by John Silva because Arnold Allen is one of those guys that's looked at as kind of one of the more underrated fighters on the UFC roster, right? He's very skilled, not super active, right? Which has kind of been the negative with Arnold Allen, but he's very good, very technical. He was landing some really good leg kicks, some good body kicks, was throwing some head kicks in there as well. But John Silva, this was a good bounce back win, right? He was a lot more dialed in, right? Started to loosen up and starting to, do his taunting gig. Later in the fight, parkoured off of Arnold Allen's back, towards the end of the fight, which was just wild. But to me, it was the power of John Silva. That was the difference in this fight. And that's why I picked Silva to win this. I thought he would knock Arnold Allen out, right? Because we've seen Mobstar Evloev rock Arnold Allen. We've seen Arnold Allen in some trouble, get sting with some big shots. And I'm like, John Silva hits harder than all those guys. So I'm like, if he lands, it's going to be a problem. This was a good bounce back win for Silva. Going out there, getting KO'd, made a highlight by Diego Lopez, coming back. He's still at all his confidence, which is a good thing, right? Because when you see a fighter that has all this confidence and all this kind of aura to him, and then they go out there and they get finished, sometimes they come back and they're not the same fighter. So John Silva, this was a good win. It was a close fight. This was a very close fight, but I did score the first round for Allen, round 2 and 3 for John Silva, the damage, the way that he was able to put a stamp on the end of the rounds. And one of the judges, I think, gave a 30-27, on the scorecards for Silva, which I thought was crazy because I thought Allen won the first round. I know Silva had a really good, burst in the last few seconds of the first round, but I don't know that that was enough to steal the round, right? So what John Silva says, or what he's been able to do, man, getting knocked out by Lopez, going out there against a very crafty and savvy technical fighter in Arnold Allen, I thought it was a good performance. Was switching up stances, ripping good combinations to the body, setting up the right hand, throwing good front kicks. And that front kick that Silva throws is nasty, man. He's got a nasty front kick, so mixing in the leg kicks, trying to work at the base of Arnold Allen, mixed in some grappling as well. This was a good performance by Silva, man, because Arnold Allen's one of the more well-rounded and skilled fighters in this weight class. So good bounce-back performance from John Silva. And what do they do next with him? I mean, they're going to give him another top 5 guy. And it would not surprise me, given what the UFC is doing, this new era that we are in, depending on who wins, out of Volkanovski and Diego Lopez, I would not be shocked if they give Silva a title shot. They're pushing this guy, man. So, I don't know. I don't know what they do with him next. I don't think he should get a title shot, obviously, but it wouldn't shock me whatsoever. So, I think they give him another top guy in the weight class. Maybe they do Mobstar versus Lerone, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe they do Silva versus Yair. So, there's some names out there for sure, but this was a big win, man, because Arnold Allen is very, very skilled. I just figured the power was going to be a difference in the fight. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I mean, this was domination by Umar. This was a clean sweep, 30-27, completely dominated him, outstruck him on the feet, outgrappled him. But to me, Umar really needed a finish to put a stamp on this thing. Now, I still think that he's more deserving, clearly, over Sean O'Malley for a title shot, right? Just beat Mario Bautista, just beat Deiveson Figueiredo. But at the end of the day, he didn't get a finish. Neither did O'Malley, but it just feels like, the UFC, given the route that we're in right now, they're looking for finishes. They are looking for finishes, right? And Sean O'Malley's got the history with Piotr Jan. I'm not saying that that's what they should do. I just feel like the UFC is I feel like that's the route that they're going to lean, man. I just feel that that's the way they're going to lean. But I think Umar has earned a title shot now, right? Fought Merab, had that crazy fight. That was one of the best bantamweight fights of all time. Goes out there, beats Mario Bautista, who's on a crazy win streak. Comes out here, beats Davidson Figueiredo, who just beat Montel Jackson. Dominated him, man. 30-27. Boxed him up on the feet. Was landing nasty front kicks from range. Umar has really good kicks, man. He's very, very, very good on the feet. Just great flexibility. Whips these kicks up out of nowhere. He was just the faster overall fighter. Davison was just way too defensively, way too defensive oriented. Like, he did not open up enough. Like, when you are a massive underdog, all the pressure in this fight was on Umar. Like, Umar was supposed to win this fight. And I just thought Figgy would come out and be more aggressive. I know he missed weight, didn't look great on the scales, which I'm sure was maybe a factor as well, but Umar Nurmagomedov was clearly the better fighter. Way better. And that's why everyone was picking up to win this fight, because he is the better fighter. More technical everywhere, better everywhere, and he's also bigger and stronger. So if you add all the technique and then you add a size advantage, it's just a recipe for a disaster for Davison. But the fact that Davison, we'd see him get aggressive at moments, especially when he stopped some of the takedowns, which I thought was impressive. You'd see him gain some confidence. Then he'd start to move forward and throw some big shots. But I don't know, man. He was too reserved, too defensively, oriented in this fight, and didn't open up and give himself a chance to win. But, he was just outmatched in this fight. Umar was just a way better fighter. That's why everybody was picking him. That's why he was a massive favorite. I think Umar Nurmagomedov has put himself in position to fight for the bantamweight title next. And I get it. If he got a finish, that would have stamped it. But given the way the UFC's going, who knows what they're going to do. No title shot to me is guaranteed anymore. That's what we're learning in the UFC. But like I said, I think Umar should get it. That was a dominant performance over the former flyweight champion in Figueiredo, who's had pretty solid success in the bantamweight division. And like I said, 2-fight win streak for Umar, beating Mario, beating Figueiredo, and has beaten everybody else outside of Merab Dvalishvili in what was a razor-close, crazy fight, one of the best bantamweight fights of all time. Ateba Gautier versus Andre Pulyaev. I picked Gautier by a first-round knockout, and obviously this is one of the big shockers of the card to me. And I figured that watching this live, I'm like, Ateba's going to get outstruck. And he did. He got outstruck in this fight by Pulyaev. His saving grace was the fact that he was able to drop Pulyaev in round 1 and 2. He was able to have a dominant first round. Round 2, not so dominant, right? Was getting outlanded, but was able to land a big shot and drop him, which again, when that happens, you're pretty much going to win the round. And then in round 3, it was like Ateba was stuck in neutral, right? He was just kind of in idle mode. He was just kind of moseying forward, not doing a whole lot, and Pulyaev was sticking and moving. Andre fought a good fight, man. And how durable to eat those missiles from Ateba. Stay in the fight, not back down. And go out there, stick and move, and throw nasty kicks to the body. Was trying to set up the high kick, right? And I feel like this was I don't want to say alarming for Ateba, but we got to see a little bit here. If you could drag it out past that, the first round, and you could land the output out there, he's beatable, right? Because he kind of had this aura, and it feels like his aura was dampened for sure, man. Like, he's out here knocking everybody out. And I know Pulyaev put on a good fight, and he's a pretty good striker, right? And that's what we all kind of knew coming into this fight. Long, rangy, tall, good kicks, solid striking from range. But Ateba's saving grace was the fact that he was able to knock him down a couple times, because outside of that, he got outstruck in this fight. He got picked apart from the outside. He had no answer for the kicks to the body from Pulyaev. So I thought that this was impressive for Andre. I feel like his stock went up while Ateba kind of went down a little bit. Now, I like the fact that, Gautier went 15 minutes, getting the cage time in to a degree. But let's be real, man. This was a fight where he should have gotten a KO. He should have gotten a KO. So a little bit concerning, right? I know Ateba, he's only 23, man. Still very new in the game. Still very green in the game. He's going to get better. He's a good striker. Right? He's very fundamentally sound, but he was too dependent upon the right hand. He was not throwing in combinations. He was just basically banking on landing a right-handed missile. And if that's what you're going to do moving forward, I know he's got the power. He's got the danger factor. He's got that X factor. But if you become too one-dimensional, where you saw Pulyaev circling away from the right hand, which is exactly what you have to do, you see Ateba kind of struggle a little bit. And then we saw the cardio, right? He started to slow down a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what Gautier does moving forward. I feel like the UFC, they're definitely going to slow build him They're definitely going to slow build him, especially after this fight. Because again, Pulyev's pretty good. But the expectation when you're a massive favorite and you have the aura that Ateba has is to go out here and get a KO. So again, get some cage time in, battle some adversity. I thought Pulyaev fought a very good fight. I thought a judge, didn't they do another 30-27 here, which was crazy. The third round to me was pretty clear that Andre won that fight. At least I thought in real time. So I don't know, man. Ateba's got to work. He's got to throw in combinations. I know he's only 23. He's only going to get better. And he's a very good striker. Very, very, I mean, the dude's built like a brick, man. Dude's strong. He's powerful. He's got crazy power. Sets his shots up well. But he's got to throw more than just a right hand, especially as he starts to climb up the ranks in the middleweight division. Good performance, though, by Pulyaev. I feel like his stock went up. Nikita Krylov, Modestas Bukauskas. I picked Nikita Krylov by KO. I thought it would happen earlier, but I just felt like Bukauskas he's one-dimensional. He's one-dimensional. Now, Bukauskas' ground game looked good, which I was impressed by that because I thought Krylov would have some success on the ground, but you could definitely see Modestas has been training with Aspinall. The light movement, springing into range with the 1-2, right? His hands look fast. Bukauskas looked pretty offensively sound when it came to the striking, but his defense is not good on the feet. It isn't, and either is Krylov's. But at the end of the day, it was the fact that Nikita Krylov, to me, was just a better fighter. It was just the fact that, I mean, for a guy that's 30-some years of age, he looks old and tired to me. I kept saying that about Krylov. He looks like he's 50. He looks old, looks tired. When the concern was his chin. Now, the good thing, I mean, it's not great to get hit, but Krylov ate some big shots from Bukauskas, and it didn't faze him. Right, so it's not like Krylov just has this glass jaw. It's not like he has this, glass chin. Right, because it was the way that Reyes and Guskov were knocking him out. Those guys are heavy hitters, to where Bukauskas has decent speed, but he doesn't have the same thud as those guys. And the way that Reyes, pulled him into range, where Nikita overextended and, Reyes just sniped him with a left hand down the pipe. Right, Guskov has crazy power and he's fast. Or Bukauskas has the speed, but, he's a little bit predictable. Kind of like Aspinall, springing into range with a 1-2 pretty much. So his takedown defense looked good, did Bukauskas, but I feel like Nikita Krylov was just a better overall fighter, and that's why I picked him, to weaponize the experience, right? And then to follow up, and Bukauskas was throwing those 1-2s, and Nikita Krylov matched him with his own 1-2 and dropped him and hurt him and was able to get him out of there in the final seconds of round 3. That was a very good performance by Nikita Krylov. To me, he's not the same guy, but that was still a good bounce-back win. Getting KO'd back-to-back fights, then coming out here and taking out a guy who's kind of had this resurgence in Bukauskas, that's an impressive win from Krylov. And I thought even if he didn't get the KO, he was definitely going to win this fight. Probably 29-28 at least. So I like the Jan call out. I like that fight next. Nikita Krylov versus Jan Blachowicz. Book it next. I like it. I think Jan wins, though. Alex Perez, Charles Johnson. This was one of the shockers on the night for me, man. I thought Charles Johnson was going to win this fight, and this is the Charles Johnson special. Mr. Inconsistent. How do you KO Josh Van and Loner Kavanaugh and then you get knocked out by Alex Perez? And I know Perez's back was to the wall, lost a couple fights, felt like maybe he's fighting for his job, maybe his job's on the line. It was a good performance by Perez, man. Was patient. Charles Johnson's fast. He's fast twitch, holds his hands low, and he just clipped him. Nasty left hook right on the temple, dropped him, rocked him. The fact that Johnson was able to survive that, was circling, doing all he could. He was on wobbly legs, and then Perez, He put it on him, man. He put it on him, walked him down, started to land some big shots, and then eventually found that shot and was able to get the stoppage. I know people were saying that this was a weird stoppage, but Johnson was clearly out of it. I mean, you saw it. He was shooting for a takedown after the fight was already stopped, so he was clearly not there. I thought it was a good stoppage, and at the end of the day, Alex Perez, it was a great performance. And I thought if this stayed on the feet, I was like, that's Charles's fight all day long. You're beating Kavanaugh. You're beating Josh Van, who I think are much better strikers than Perez. I thought if Perez was going to win, it was going to be by the grappling. So very good performance by Alex Perez and a much-needed win for him. And once again, Charles Johnson, Mr. Inconsistent. Early prelims, Josh Hokit versus Denzel Freeman. I mean, I thought Josh Hokit would win this fight by ground and pound stoppage in round 2, but round 1, just basically a complete shutout by Josh Hokit. Punked him, dominated him on the ground, on the feet. Josh Hokit's a problem, man, and that cringy, how does he remember those little lines, man? A little cringy, little rap after, I don't know, man. I don't know with Josh Hokit. Cringy, kind of playing maybe the heel role of the heavyweight division, kind of like the Kobe Covington of heavyweight, but the dude's skilled, man. Got the lower center of gravity. He's fast. He's explosive. His striking is getting better and better because, he's a football player, right? Played in the NFL a little bit, the wrestling background. His wrestling was dominant because Denzel Freeman, from what we've seen, he had a very underwhelming UFC debut to where it was a staring contest, but he has skills. It's not like he's a bum. You know, when Josh Hokit just ran him over, took him down, dominated him on the ground, beat him up on the floor, beat him up on the feet, was able to hurt him bad, get the stoppage. One-sided domination by Josh Hokit, man. And he's one of the future guys in this weight class. If you're fast, you're explosive, you move well, and you're not just a fat blob, you're going somewhere in the heavyweight division. Josh Hokit, he checks all those boxes, man. The dude is very skilled. Adam Fugitt, Ty Miller. This is what I was saying. One of the guys I was very high on off the Contender Series was Ty Miller, man. And I'm glad he got the KO in this fight because I thought he would win a decision because from what we've seen from Ty Miller, one of the questions I had was, is his ground game going to hold up? Because if there were any areas for Adam Fugitt to exploit, it would probably be the ground game. But we know that Adam Fugitt's just kind of a guy, man. That's the reality. He's just kind of a guy, right? And Ty Miller's got slick boxing, crisp boxing, where he's kind of slappy on his hooks, right? So if he could tighten that up and dig his feet in on those, that'll make him even more dangerous. But those 1-2s down the pipe, man, he is a sniper with his hands. Crisp, clean, sharp, straight punches. Very, very technical. The jab was popping. That right hand was popping Fugitt's head back. Right, and then you saw when Ty Miller was stopping some of the, it was basically they get into the clinch. And it's not like, Fugitt was putting a ton of effort into the takedowns, but Ty Miller was very aware. He knew in this fight that on the feet he was clearly better than Adam. It was going to be Fugitt trying to get takedowns. That was basically the path to victory for Adam to win this fight. And Adam landed a nasty spinning elbow that split Ty Miller open. That was nasty. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute here. But overall, Ty Miller was the better fighter. He's a snowball effect kind of guy. He's got the volume, he's got the output, he's got the cardio, and he could just push a pace on guys. That's what we saw in the Contender Series. But to go out here and get a KO basically at the buzzer over Adam Fugitt and drop him, man, that right hand of Ty Miller, it is straight, it is sharp, it is fast. The dude's got some crispy boxing, man. I'm very high on Ty Miller. I love what I saw in this fight against Adam Fugitt. Definitely a guy to keep your eye on in the future here. So that's going to do it, man. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Give it a like. Let me know what you thought of UFC 324 down in the comments of the main event, of some of these scorecards that we saw. And if you're new, if you could subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time.